get mad at me because they feel as though I treat them like they're stupid. And they're not wrong. I do. Because y'all are stupid. And they just do stupid shit all the time. So I can't help it. But what's worse is the fact that I had to be raised by people that I know that I'm smarter than. The shit that they was doing, I just would never do. And then also, there's no rhyme or reason to the bullshit that they was doing. Like, now that I'm grown in my grown-up age, it pisses me off even more the dumb shit y'all subjected me to. My mom, she didn't pay the light bill, so the lights went off. Completely understand that. Shit is hard. You a single mom with a bunch of kids. But then that hoe came home with the biggest screen TV that I've ever seen in my motherfucking life. That is fuck because you bring in this big ass TV set and you know we ain't got no lights. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at her because I'm filled with rage. Because I have a question that I want to ask her, but I know if I ask her, she's going to curse me out. I ask anyway, Ma, why did you buy this large ass TV when you know you ain't paid a light bill? How the fuck we supposed to watch it if you ain't paid a light bill? Curse me straight the fuck out. I don't know what it means to be an adult. Now that I am fully an adult, I still would never do no bullshit like that, so it makes me even more mad, because why would you do that?
It has become like an epidemic that a lot of people are going no contact with their family. And excuse my sinuses because it's allergy season and that's the reason why I sound like that, but I really have to say this before I go to sleep tonight because it has become a true epidemic that a lot of people are going no contact with their family members. And honestly, I don't blame them for doing that because we are coming to the awareness that we have been raised by emotionally immature parents. And it's like once we become adults and once we became adults, we can't unsee that anymore. It's like we finally see the little children that they are in an adult body. And it's really unfortunate because there's nothing else that we could do but just remove ourselves from the situation or just remove ourselves from their vicinity and just live our own lives because they haven't grown up and simply because they haven't taken accountability. And a lot of times all they can do is blame everybody else for the reason why their life ended up being what they is, right? Instead of taking full accountability for the choices that they decided to make. So instead of taking accountability, what they like to do is project their own insecurities and project their anger and their frustrations on their children and other people, other family members. And it's just kind of sad. And this is the reason why it has become a pandemic, an epidemic, that a lot of people are going no contact with family members. And it is something that is healthy for a lot of people to do because these people are not finna change. And I hate to say it, a lot of people, especially children, like we want that. We want that. We want the little white picket fence. We want the family get-togethers that is not resulting in toxicity or anything. But it's just like the whole foundation was created on a toxic foundation. It was created in toxicity. And oftentimes, the best thing to do is to leave.
And because of that, people are coming to different assessments that kind of all align the same way. And you could tell by the calmness that this lady was speaking that she's in complete alignment with the idea of what peace actually means. And a lot of the times you start relating your romantic traumas or the traumas from your romantic relationships, it has the same energy as the relationship that you would have with a parent, where you're trying to achieve acceptance and validation from someone that is not mature enough to get it. And I found this clip right here that explains that.
So somebody asked me, how did I come to the realization that the people that I had around me were manifestations of my mother? Well, one day I was probably scrolling on here somewhere and I seen somebody say that until you heal, your type will be your trauma. And my brain just said, when you think about it, for someone like myself, I can't speak on everybody else, but I was very anxiously attached because my mother was very unavailable. And I was never that woman's first choice. So, even though I didn't realize it at the time, I was chasing her, whether it was her approval, whether it was her love, whether it was her acceptance. I was chasing this woman. When I released her after I got tired of her disrespect and just her overall mistreatment, it made it a lot easier to kind of see what I was chasing in everybody else. There was a video on here where this girl was literally crying. Okay, she was crying over this man. She was sitting in her car and she was crying over this man. And I'll never forget, the baby said, "I'm crying over somebody that does nothing for me." And then she just sat there and she was like, oh my God, I'm crying over a man that does nothing for me. And then she bagged her car up, reversed, and went on about her business. And while I laughed, sometimes you got to hear the shit out loud. And a large part of my life has been telling people what somebody else has done to me. And then when I finally say it out loud and I see people's reaction, I'm like, oh, that's not normal. Okay. And then I have to kind of dig into it, right? And so for myself, I knew that obviously my relationship with my mother was not a normal and a healthy one because other people didn't have that kind of relationship. You know, and the people that did, when you're hearing it happen to other people, you're like, well, what the hell? There's nothing healthy about your mom calling you a bitch.
Women deal with a whole lot of different energy with each other that men will never understand.
To leave it all behind because it cannot come with us. And that's just the conclusion that I came to. That's been a conclusion I came to a long time ago. And it's just become very, very apparent for me as well that, like, these people are not going to change. And it's very unfortunate because I kind of feel sorry for them too, because I'm like, damn, you know how people say, like, people, like, a parent's report card is the way that a child treats you when they become an adult. And it shows it's very apparent how a lot of parents' report cards are having F's because their children are leaving and never coming back. And that is a telltale sign that they are the problem. It's not the child that's the problem. It's you as a parent. And that's kind of unfortunate because part of me is just like, damn, I kind of pity you. Like, I kind of pity those parents that aren't able to take accountability. And I'm not saying all parents, because some parents are actually, you know, breaking generational curses and, like, are being that change that they did not get to see growing up. But for the parents that lack the accountability, that lack the awareness, that are constantly, like, playing the victim but also being a villain at the same time, it's just kind of like, dang, you will die a very lonely, like, you will just have a very, very lonely rest of your life, and without surrounded by family or being surrounded by people that feel that they are obligated to show up for you in your time of being sick or whatever the case may be. Because I don't wish it on anybody, but it's just kind of like, you would not be seeing me at all. And
What she's describing is the wall that Kevin Samuels talked about that we all have. And when it happens and when you do hit that wall, who's going to be there with you?
There's nothing healthy about you being gaslit. There's nothing healthy about you being neglected. I could go on and on and on and on and on, right? It's the same thing when you talk about relationships. When you start to actually talk about, you hear these women and they're like, my husband does this and my husband does that and yada, yada, yada. And then you hear it, you kind of compare it, even though they say comparison is a thief of joy, but when you compare it to your treatment, you're like, oh, like, well, that's not, I don't sound like that. And you got to ask yourself too, how much of that is you trying to convince yourself that you're happy? So that's what it was for me. It wasn't like this just like ridiculous tower moment. I just looked up one day and was just like, man, I'm kind of sick of this treatment. I don't think I like this no more. That's literally all it was. And once I got tired of it, I didn't deal with it anymore. And that was that, to be honest with y'all. So when I started to look at the way that she would treat me and the way that others would treat me, or I think I told you guys in another video, like, my ex started to sound just like her. And that is when I really realized, like, oh shit. Wow. All right then. And then I remember telling him one time about something that she said or did, but I finally got that shit on record. Matter of fact, it's the recording that you guys heard on my page. And he was like, oh my God, I can't even believe that she would talk to you like that.
Y'all go follow the good homegirl on TikTok.
You talk to me like that. And that was when, just the worlds and everything, the planets aligned. I did, but I finally got that shit on record. Matter of fact, it's the recording that you guys heard on my page. And he was like, oh my God, I can't even believe that she would talk to you like that. You talk to me like that.
Take note of that.
And that was when, just the worlds and everything, the planets aligned and the worlds collided. And I was like, well, fuck. And so I started to look at everybody in my life. And anybody whose energy would even slightly make me second guess myself, I'd be like, oh yeah, not for me. Got to get you away from me. And it was that simple. So I will say that really start looking at the people in your life. If you're in any of these toxic situations, look at the people in your life and ask yourself, do they sound like somebody I'm related to?
Very key point. Do they sound like someone that you're related to?
I've kind of made peace with that. And I feel like a lot of children, we've all kind of made peace with that as well. Because it's necessary. It's just nothing else that you can do. It's just kind of like we chose our parents for whatever reason that we chose it. We learned the lessons that we needed to learn. But once that lesson is learned, it's like, all right, cool. You played your role. You played your part. I got my wisdom from it. And now it's time for me to move the fuck on. And yeah, it's kind of stuck. It's kind of sad and it kind of sucks. But it's like, baby, we have to understand that we chose them for a reason. And it is just a role. They played their role. And once we get up out of here on earth, we can have our little forgiveness and stuff like that. We can thank them for playing that role in order for us to learn confidence or anything that we needed to learn. But it's like, I'm going to live my life and I'm going to make sure I live a great life with or without anybody that doesn't really provide me the care and the nurturing that my spirit truly needs. Like, respectfully, you can kick rocks. Like, and I don't care. I don't care. Like, the whole label of I'm your father, I'm your mother, you have to respect me. No, I will not. Matter of fact, I feel sorry for you. Like, I feel sorry for a lot of these people, like, and I really just see it, and it's like very apparent. I'm like, damn, look at you. Like, you're still stuck. You're 50, you're 70 years old, you're 60, 70, 80 years old, and you're still operating as a 10-year-old child. That is actually very, very, very sad.
That arrested development is not just a couple of words thrown together. It's the truth.
But yeah, that's all I had to say, y'all. It is what it is. I wish all of us the best, like people who grew up with emotionally immature parents, because it's truly one of those things where You have to experience it. You can't really explain the kind of things that we have to go through. You really just have to experience it for yourself.
And when she talked about emotionally immature parents, it's a great segue to this video right here.
People who have emotionally immature parents have the experience of trying to communicate, and that emotionally immature parent is not interested in what they're saying. So when you're trying to tell somebody something that's important to you and you're trying to communicate it to them, and they're looking at you like you have two heads and they are not processing what you're saying, the problem is not your problem with communication, it's their problem with being willing to process what you're telling them. So people get a very distorted idea about whether they make sense or not. They feel like they don't make sense because the emotionally immature person is not invested in trying to understand them. They're invested in getting off the hot seat as quickly as possible.
Which is why they erupt or they dismiss or they get defensive. And then that trains you to like walk on eggshells and use a different tone of voice and worry about whether or not this is the right time in order to manage somebody's emotional immaturity. And that just leaves you feeling like you're the problem.
Exactly. So you get around people who are emotionally immature and you're trying to explain yourself or you're trying to communicate, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't feel like I'm making any sense. I can't find the right words. I start to say it and then I can't remember what I was going to say. It's what a colleague of mine, Jenny Walter, she's a coach out in the West Coast, calls brain scramble. Because when we're talking, the other person's responsiveness actually helps our brain organize itself and stay on a track of thought, because communication is not only intellectual and verbal, it's emotional. The whole time we're talking, right? Our right hemisphere of our brain is saying, is there resonance? Are we on the same wavelength? That's being assessed the whole time we're yammering away with our words. If that's not there, it is an incredibly unsafe experience. You're getting a contradictory signal. They're looking at you, they appear to be listening, but they're not processing it. And then it's like, whoa, the mismatch really pulls you off your game. You really pulls you away from the point that you're trying to make. And then it's like you can't remember even what you're trying to do.
And it is true. You start to think, I'm the problem. And I love that you just said, no, that's the wrong problem. It's not how you're communicating. It's that you're trying to communicate with somebody who is either too emotionally immature to be able to communicate like a mature person, or that has no interest in communicating with you.
So, what a way to close out, right? So, bottom line is, do what you got to do to protect yourself. If people are wired to intentionally misunderstand you, then you need to do the right thing and put distance between them and you and preserve yourself. I'll see you beyond the algorithm. All right, folks. Appreciate you sticking with me to the end. This has been another episode of Beyond the Algorithm. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Go get the book. And most importantly, I will see you beyond the algorithm, because that's where life actually happens.